Thank you for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and I'm Michael Miller. Our guest today is Pinecrest Mayor Joe Corradino. Thank you very much for being here, Mayor.
Thank you for inviting me.
So Pinecrest is certainly one of the finest cities in South Florida, for sure, in Dade County, certainly in the top couple, all right? And it's not just because it's geographically located correctly, but the management, the politicians, the elections, which mean really driven by the homeowners, have got the right people in office. Out of all the cities, and we've covered them from all of them, somehow Pinecrest stays out of the mishmash, all right, that occurs in almost every other city. How did you and your team there and your colleagues do that?
Well, number one, thank you.
Yeah.
I think the answer to that's just either dumb luck or perseverance. I mean, I think we have our bouts like every other city. The way we approach things is pretty simple. We don't get paid as the elected officials. We've hired what we would consider the best staff in the industry, our management, our attorneys, our clerk, the charter officials, and they lead line staff, department heads that are simply the best in the field. And we get out of their way and let them do their jobs, and we sit as a policy body. Mm-hmm. And so we don't tinker with the day-to-day operations of the village. We let the professionals do their jobs, and we get engaged and multiple times during the process. A lot of strategic planning happens between the management and the elected officials. Nothing that ever hits a budget or an agenda is new news. It's come through strategic planning and hits 5-year capital improvement programs, and then finally a budget somewhere along the line. So it's all very well thought out. It's all very planned out. And then we treat each other very collegially. And if there are conflicts and tensions, more like you would see at a board of directors at a private corporation, it's not aired in public.
So I think that's the key part of it. You may have your stuff, but why bring it out? Just have your conversations, be able to move to the other side. You've been mayor for how long now?
8 years.
That's
another 2 to go.
Wow, that is exceptional.
Yeah, I've been elected since 2006, so it'll be almost 20 years by the time I'm done.
So the city is 1996.
Yeah,
right? Was
1996.
I have a jersey that the city gave us, the village gave us. Thank you very much for that. All right. So you've been there a huge part of the time that the city village has been around.
Yes, long time.
Extraordinary. So let's talk about some of the key initiatives that the city is working on and things that you would like to see happen in the city.
Well, we are progressing pretty well. Again, like we do strategic planning every year. That plan starts in January or February, where we start putting together thoughts of how we proceed. Some of those ideas, if we can get them through strategic planning, will hit a budget. The next cycle, which comes out in essentially July. Some need to mature a little bit and may hit a budget the next year or the year after that. And so what we do with this planning is, again, there's nothing new. We're looking at these things. We're refining them until they're ready to go. We're vetting them through not only the staff and whatever studies that we have to do, whatever grants we have to win, but we're vetting them through the public workshops and get public opinion on them and refine them as they go. And so we have a whole list of things that we want to do. A lot of it is related to the things that we all feel in Miami-Dade County: traffic and transportation and congestion and mobility. A lot of parks projects. We've got multiple new parks. We kind of went on a buying spree. We've got Gary Matzner Park. By the way, in a moment, I'll talk about Gary Matzner. He passed away this week. He was our second mayor and founder, and just want to give a couple minutes to Gary as one of the great leaders and people that put his stamp on Pinecrest and really made it what it is today relative to personality. But we've got the Moss Park, which we just purchased, and a couple of others. We are kind of programming those and building them. We've completed our water lines. We're working on the infrastructure, septic to sewer conversion, which we must do. It'll be later rather than sooner because it's such a complicated job. And then we're always looking to make sure that the homes that are being built kind of fit into the fabric of the community, the character of the community. They're giant homes now, right? There's giant lots, but now they have giant homes. So tinkering with our zoning codes. And then we've got affordable housing problem, and everybody sees this, and what it is in Pinecrest is what it is anywhere else. We need to be able to put the densities in the appropriate places near the rapid transit systems so that we contribute to the solutions to those problems.
So Pinecrest is known for a great quality of life. So to your point, how do you balance all of this, the needs and the rights of property owners? We had a recent move by the state to try to take away, or the cities overseeing and give stuff to the developers. That was the what was the name?
The Live Local Act.
Live
Right.
Local Act. So how do you balance all this?
Common sense and negotiations with the parties. Look, when the law changes, the law is the law, and you can't do anything about it. This is a developer-friendly state, number one. But it's also, 30 years ago, there were a fraction of the number of people in Miami-Dade County that there are now. And people keep coming here and coming here and coming here. And so we need to put the right type of housing in the right type of places. It's just common sense to be able to accommodate all the people. Right now, there's a shortage in housing stock. And without a lot more housing stock, then the prices are just going to keep going up. And then nobody's going to be able to afford it except for the folks from very, very wealthy states that are moving here.
So your job, the work that you do is in this arena.
Right.
And so you're quite familiar with a lot of things. But what are we going to do as a county, and specifically for the city there, that's going to be dealing with the thousands of additional cars that are going to be to move people from South Dade County, where they're building homes and apartments like crazy. And currently, they're going to have to come north somewhere to get jobs and through the neighborhoods.
That is a great question. And I think the answer to that we've debated for years. There's no room for new roads. So you just couldn't possibly put any new roadway capacity getting out of South Dade. We've got the bus rapid transit system. That will help, but it can only help so much. As the population floods into Miami-Dade County, the key is jobs. There's an interesting statistic I was realizing. South Dade, 88th Street South, is about 50% of the geographic area of Miami-Dade County. It's got 25% of the population of Miami-Dade County, but only 12% of the jobs. So half the geographic area, quarter of the people, and even less of the jobs. So if we were to actively put employment centers in Miami-Dade County, real industry, you could mitigate the traffic problems almost immediately. You wouldn't need to spend billions of dollars in a train because you would reverse the commute. I don't know if you've ever driven to Homestead in the morning, but if you go from South Miami to Homestead in the morning, it's a very pleasant, easy drive. There's no traffic. There's literally hundreds of thousands of cars coming north, but maybe thousands of cars going south. If you could reverse that commute, put the jobs in Cutler Bay, put the jobs in Homestead, the quality of life in South Dade would go up exponentially.
So Pinecrest has many schools there. What can the city do with those local schools to improve the lives of the families and the students that are there?
Well, the one thing is, for our public schools, we've always given them grant money. I think we give them $10,000 a year to help them. Each of the institutions in Pinecrest, whether they be public or private, has redeveloped, and we've helped them with those redevelopments. You'll see the work going on at Gulliver or Beth Am, and even the Pinecrest Elementary School and Palmetto Elementary. They've all been rebuilt. We just try to be good neighbors with them, understand what their needs are, help them out. We have an education advisory committee where we meet with the principals and the administrations on a monthly basis, just to communicate. Again, I think in Pinecrest, if we open the lines of communication, we can catch problems before they get to critical mass and solve them. And that's what we've been very, very good at for 25 years.
So we know that technology is changing our lives. Every 6 months, there's some new thing out there. So what effect has it had on the city and in the field that you're in? And what does it look like, the involvement of the cities with technology in the next 6 months to 5 years?
Well, technology isn't all it's cracked up to be. If you saw that crash that we had last Thursday or Friday, right, and some airlines are still down, I think the greatest aspect of the byproduct of the technology is the ability to work remotely. I think that not only does that help the cities out, and you can file plans electronically. Maybe you don't have to bring everybody into an office every day. You can reduce traffic that way. You can raise the quality of life of your employees that way. And I think it's been an overall benefit to society. So what we're looking at is that ability to, continue to function, but not necessarily having to drive to function.
So we realized that during COVID, a lot of people started doing more and more Zoom, and that was before COVID. Nobody knew what Zoom was.
Not even the day before. On March 12th, we didn't know what it was. March 13th, we had it all figured out.
Zoom was a car, right? And then we all saw what happened, and so now it's built in to what we do.
Yeah,
every day, and so we have more and more people that want to do Zoom, and although we're pretty good at this, and we want people to come here, we're recognizing that when we use Zoom, it's effective. We have some people that do shows here; they don't even come here. Nobody.
Why not?
Because they can do it by Zoom, and then we redistribute it for them, and it's incredible the kind of changes. So. Let's look at the young people that are out there, whatever age that is. Let's say over 50.
40, according to me.
Yeah, over 40. What does it look like for people wanting to live and to shop in Pinecrest? Tell us what that looks like.
I really don't know how a young person or even an old person these days affords a home in Pinecrest. The houses are physically enormous. Their price tags are enormous. I think recently we've become known that the average home price is over $1 million. I was reading in, I think, the New Times or something like that recently that it's one of the 50 wealthiest, most affluent communities in the entire United States, one of only 2 in South Florida, us and maybe the town of Palm Beach. So that's a real problem. And I think what you see is the character. We strive to protect the character and the quality of life of the community. I'm not quite sure that in 25 years, we may be able to keep the character the same, but just by the nature of the real estate explosion, it's going to be a different economically group of people that are able to come to Pinecrest. Shopping, look, we have a very small strip center on US 1. A part of our initiatives in recent years was to change some of the zoning and land use so we could attract a little bit more high quality restaurants, compete a little bit with South Miami or Coral Gables and those types of things. So we're well on our way to doing that. And so we look forward to seeing a new, more vibrant retail and restaurant experience in the next couple of years.
So I was down that way not too long ago. Sunnyland Shopping Center seems to be well under reconstruction.
Right.
Should I say when I was a kid, I used to ride my bike on the side right up there. Get off the sidewalk, kid.
And it looked the same until recently. So now they're redoing.
That's true. So in all your years at Pinecrest, I'm sure there's some projects that you've worked on that have been exceptional that you're really proud of. Can you share with us some of those?
Just about. You know what? From big to little, I'm very proud of a lot of the things we've done. And I don't know if you'd necessarily notice them because we don't do really grand projects, but I'm very proud of our park system. Mm-hmm. We acquired our parks early on and we rehabbed them. I'm very proud of getting the institutions to redevelop in an orderly manner without a ton of controversy. We've had big schools, Gulliver, Bethlehem, Pinecrest Elementary, Pinecrest Palmetto High School have all redeveloped, and we've done it almost seamlessly, fit their needs into the needs of the community. We've worked a lot on our land use, tinkered with our zoning so that the new homes that are coming out of the ground kind of fit as seamlessly as you can into the natural environment that we have. We've worked with FP&L and partnered with them after years of fighting with FP&L and get almost all of our undergroundable power lines underground. So can you imagine 10 years ago when you were thinking about it, then one day this is going to get done, all right? And you guys did it. Yeah, my hat's off to you. I don't know how you got it done, though. We work real hard. We fancy ourselves to be good partners with the other levels of government and our surrounding communities, and we're willing to compromise, and we're aimed towards getting the job done. And we're not conflict-oriented. We're not pushovers by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly we are doers. And the agencies that want to get things done, I think, probably have a positive experience with the Village of Pinecrest. And that keeps them wanting to go back and work on the other projects instead of having a terrible problem where it becomes adversarial. So let's talk about county water. Some people would say city water, but it's really county water. Yeah, it's their water.
and the conversion from septic tank to sewer. Tell us how that project is going and what it looked like 10 years ago.
Well, when we took it, well, Pinecrest was a hole in the donut. It had, for some reason, developed that there's a law called concurrency, which the county made sure that everybody had to have infrastructure in place at the time that things were developed. Because Pinecrest was semi-rural, acres estates or greater, they didn't require the development community to put in the infrastructure, water, sewer, those types of things. And so we inherited the neighborhoods with nearly none of that type of infrastructure. And so we've had to peck away at it for decades to get it done. With a little bit of luck and a little bit of perseverance, we were able to get the water project done. And now that's
completed.
Done.
Everybody's on county water.
Everybody, there are homes that everybody has access to county water. Certain people have, kind of the older folks that have been here for a long time are hesitant to hook up. So there's a 10-year time period they have to go through before they hook up, which is fair. But now we set so it's completely done. We've set our sights on septic to sewer. We all have septic tanks. They're not going to last forever. There's a new breed of septic tank out there. I hope we get our projects done before we get them, because I think we need to be on a sewer system like most. If you're one of the 50th most affluent communities in the country, you probably need a sewer system.
And it's hard to imagine that.
Right.
And not too long ago, they were on wells in these big houses. Right.
Wells and septic with unreliable electricity, right? So if you moved here, like when I moved here in '97, it's like, what is this, a third world country? Remember that year the 2 hurricanes came through? It was like 2003 or something like that. And again, Mayor Matzner was the mayor. I mean, he was having fits because we were out of electricity for like a month or something like that. And they wanted to string him up. For God's sake. So, that we had to get ourselves out of that crazy, I would say, third world infrastructure. No electricity, no water, no sewer.
And that wasn't too many years ago.
No, it was like, we can remember that, right?
Yes.
When the hurricanes would come and you had young children, you had one flush of the toilet because the well had no electricity and you had to leave town and there was nothing else to do. And that was totally unacceptable to us.
It's interesting how that occurred. The Pinecrest, even back then, was like, it was called the Palmetto, if I remember right. It was like big yards, big ranch houses, if you will, at that point. And it was like, they don't have water. They got to do the pump, which was extraordinary. People building these huge houses. Make sure you put enough potassium in that thing.
Yeah, right. I mean, you had to go buy salt, and you had your own water treatment plant in your garage, and it was just untenable for a contemporary society.
And let's talk about the funding for those. How did that happen?
A lot of it was Pinecrest money. A lot of it was money from the federal government through the American Rescue Act and Perseverance. And so we had done some bonds. We had used some of our money. And then Miami-Dade County pitched in a bit of the money too. So we got it from federal, local, and county sources.
So we know there are over 100,000 septic tanks in Miami-Dade County. About 5,000 have been determined, more or less, that really have to be taken care of. All right. And so the county is trying to go to those areas and help some of those people with special funding. But at some point, the county's going to go, okay, we're moving into your neighborhood, and you better do something.
Yeah.
And we know that's a lot of money, so people should just get ready for that. If they're young enough, they're going to be paying for it. One way or the other.
I would imagine the county's going to have to raise some type of bond, like they're to fund this, because it's going to be new infrastructure, right? They typically don't build new infrastructure for the customer. The customer needs to typically pay for that. That's what the concurrency rule was. The developer would pay for it, pass those bills on to the customer, and so they're going to struggle with putting it on their existing funding sources to getting already existing customers to contribute to that. So it'll be controversial. It'll be expensive. And but one thing we can't do any longer as a society here in South Dade or Dade County is just say no when somebody comes up with ideas. Having septic tanks is a bad idea in climate change. When the county comes up with a solution, we need to work with them to polish that solution. We can't just say no. Leaders before us have just said no, and we've hamstrung ourselves into the situation we are now, and we can't afford to do that anymore. So,
in Pinecrest, is it the county that picks up the garbage?
Yeah.
Those are the green cans out there. I see the garbage fee is going to go up. People were complaining it was 27%.
Well, if you would have raised them
Yes.
incrementally
Yes.
over time,
Yes.
it wouldn't be 27%. Like government, it costs money to provide a high level of service.
Right.
And communities, to think that we're going to keep a millage rate as the 5th lowest millage rate in Miami-Dade County forever, when we're expected to provide some of the highest quality services that a community can get, it's not going to happen, right? There inevitably will be increases to provide those services. And our philosophy in Pinecrest is not to provide the lowest quality of service that the public will tolerate. I mean, it's in fact the opposite. And so, but that's when you're in one of the highest quality communities in the state, that's your responsibility.
And when you can have a discussion like that with people, then you go for it. I went and bought a piece of medical equipment. The guy was great saying, Michael, you deserve better than the one you have. And I went, you're right.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I'm in. And he was right. But instead of thinking, what's the cheapest way to get it done? No, I wanted a good way to get it done.
Yeah, we want to be efficient and effective, right? We're not looking to be the least expensive, right? That's it. We want a good value for our service, and not the cheapest service that the people will tolerate. That's not what we're about.
And we're going to get on a subject that's near and dear to us about Gary Matzner. Why don't you talk about Gary?
Gary Matzner was with Evelyn Greer, the people that thought of the ideas of the incorporation of Pinecrest in 1996. I believe, the 80s were a tough time in Miami-Dade County. The county had kind of reached a tipping point where it just couldn't provide local services to the neighborhoods. And so these guys Gary thought of the idea of, wait a minute, we're paying all these taxes, but we don't see police officers, right? If you were to sit in what was Pinecrest in 1996 on your front step and wait for a police officer to drive by, you would have waited months to see a police officer. There were other places to go. If you would have called them, it would have taken hours. Today in Pinecrest, you call them, it's 2 minutes and 33 seconds and they're at your door. So Gary had the idea. He worked with Evelyn Greer. They talked the county into allowing us to do it. They went and then worked with the voters, the population, to vote to do it. And then and that took a long time. People said it couldn't be done. It would be a disaster. There's no way Pinecrest could possibly ever provide that type of service. But they did it. They incorporated, they set up a government. They put together their plans. They put together departments. They hired staff. They built the buildings, acquired parks, and set out giving us the personality that we have. And that personality, in my interpretation of it, having worked with them in the very early stages of the government, was maintaining the character of the community, which is different for every generation that's come through. But then again, it is similar. It's large lots, tree-lined streets, beautiful buildings, kind of a suburban feel to it, but also increasing your quality of life. Making life better, which means drinking water, reliable electricity, bicycle lanes so people could move around, those types of things. Gary Matzner taught us how to do that, right? We always rely back on Gary as one of the founders of the community to just kind of absorb that personality, remember how we should be doing things, what was important to them is still important to us now, and kind of evolving over time. And so we owe Gary a great debt for his wisdom, his courage, his leadership skills, his perseverance to get us. We wouldn't be here today without him. And he was a bit of a mentor, and he'll be sorely missed.
So, and I knew him back then. I hadn't communicated with him, but he was instrumental in our growth in Pinecrest.
Oh,
actually, he's one of the granddaddies of it.
Yeah.
Pinecrest Tribune was born out of their idea to have
right?
a separate city, Pinecrest. And Grant and I said, okay, we're going to jump in on this. What do you want us to do? So it was Evelyn and Gary, and I'm sorry, I forgot his wife's name. Veronica. They were here all the time. At least the 2 out of the 3 were here all the time. Let's do this. What do we have to do? So let's get this. It's going to be called Pinecrest. Before it was, okay, let's try that. And because of that, and our involvement on the back end of that, we were pleased to be able to help other grandfathers around the county be able to follow that. That Pinecrest set the stage for that. And people that are in the Pinecrest Business Association, that was really an outgrowth of their effort from years before. So my hats off again to those leaders and people that had that foresight to be able to
It was
do
a
that.
great model, and I think Key Biscayne had come around a little bit before us, and then in our wave it was maybe Sunny Isles Beach and Pinecrest, and then the wave that came after, which was all the other cities from Palmetto Bay to Cutler Bay to Doral and Miami Gardens, and I think it's proven a successful model in this county. It really does work. In fact, I would almost argue the county should adopt the Broward County model and incorporate everything. Get out of the get out of the city business. I think they do regional stuff better, and I think local neighborhoods can do better.
Mayor Sterheim came here years ago, and God bless him and his family. He said Miami-Dade should be all cities.
Yeah.
And when he came and he did that, 7 cities popped up right away. So there were some great leaders that are now gone. Certainly Gary is one of them, and we thank him and his family for all the things they've done, not just for Miami-Dade County, but really regional. When people look at that, and now because of that effort, one of the top 50 cities in the country.
Yeah.
And it all started with a couple people that said, let's start a city. A what? A city? Who would do that?
Well, they thought of a new way of doing things.
Yes.
Right? As much as we don't like change, that was monumental change. It was, groundbreaking leadership, vision. Like not many people saw the potential, the possibilities, but those two did.
Yes.
And, we wouldn't be here without them. I know that.
Mayor Joe
Sir,
Corradino, thank you very much for being here.
I appreciate it.
Great time. Folks, thank you for joining us. Remember, take care of yourself